What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is new release review where I give you my thoughts and opinions about some of the most recent brand new releases. Are they worth your time? But most importantly, are they worth your money? So I have a wide variety of films to talk about today, starting off with Bob Marley, One Love. This is the 4K Steelbook from Paramount. Paramount actually hooked me up with this copy, so thank you so much, Paramount, for sending this my way. I missed this in the theater, so I'm very grateful to get this from Paramount, and I do want to show you the ins and outs of the Steelbook in case you guys are interested. I think I showed it off in a previous video, but in case you missed that and you are interested in picking this one up, you can see what this looks like. So very simple, actually. Here is the front. There we go. There is no slipcover with this, just the regular Steelbook. So here's the front of the Steelbook. Here is the back with a quote. And then on the inside, you have the 4K and the Blu-ray. There's the inside of the Steelbook again. So if you guys are interested, that is what the 4K Steelbook looks like. So now let's talk about my thoughts about this biopic. So I love a great biopic, especially when it's about someone that I'm not really familiar with. And that is the case with Bob Marley. I know the name, I know some songs, and that's pretty much it. I didn't know anything more in depth about Bob Marley. So that's one of the reasons why I was looking forward to seeing this movie, because with your typical biopic, you start at the beginning of the famous person's life, their humble beginnings, and then they rise to whatever career they're in, and then whatever happens, if they still live, if they unfortunately died, and that's usually how the movie ends. It's, you know, a complete beginning to end movie. And that's what I was expecting with Bob Marley, One Love. No, don't get me wrong. I enjoyed this movie. I really did. It let me into a piece of Bob Marley's life that I was not familiar with. However, that's also the negative. It only gives you one piece of Bob Marley's life. It kind of focuses on one time period of his life. It doesn't really give you an entire scope from beginning to end. That's what I was wanting, because that's what I was expecting, because that's usually what a biopic does. So this movie does not follow motorcycle. This movie does not follow the typical biopic timeline. And I'm pointing that out because I know some of you out there are probably like me, where you're very unfamiliar with Bob Marley. You know who he is and you know some of the songs, but really about his life, you don't really know much. And if you are like me with that, then I just want to warn you and let you know about that, because it may come as a surprise if I did not mention it. But like I said, I enjoyed the movie overall as a whole. I just wanted more. I wanted more. And how can that be a complaint when you want more of a movie? So it's, I guess, kind of a negative, but not really, because it's more of the positive side, because I wanted more. So that's about the movie itself. Performance-wise, the man, the actor, I apologize, I do not remember his name. I think he was a Ken in the Barbie movie, actually, because he looked familiar. But as far as his name, I do not remember. But the actor playing Bob Marley, I thought was amazing. I thought he did a great job. All performances were good. I did not see a negative performance. So this overall, I really enjoyed. I just wanted more. I just wanted a little bit more. I do have one small nitpick, and then I will move on to the next movie. The small nitpick that I have, and it's not really a nitpick, it's like my own personal negative, because I'm getting older. I need to rely on closed captioning sometimes. And this was a movie that I really needed closed captioning, because I'm happy that I watched this at home and not in the movie theater because of this factor. Because obviously everyone in the film has Jamaican accents. They're very, very strong. And because of that, if I did not have closed captioning, I probably would not have been able to understand half of what was being said, because the accents were so thick. Hey, it's accurate. I'm not saying that's a negative. That's my own personal negative. So if you are like me, then you need to know these things. Closed captioning is needed, and also because of the focused on one timeline or one moment of time, if you know what I'm saying. But again, great movie, great performances. And if you love Bob Marley, or if you're curious about his life at all, then I do recommend that you do pick up the 4K, the regular 4K, or the amazing looking 4K Steelbook. So Bob Marley, One Love, I did enjoy watching. Okay. Now let's move on. Let's move on to American Sniper. Oh, such a great movie. Such a great movie. I loved rewatching this. The 4K transfer looked really, really nice. So if you are kind of hesitating about picking up this movie for the 4K, do not, because this 4K transfer looks really, really well done. Also, shout out to Warner Brothers, because Warner Brothers did send this one over to me. So I am thankful to you for that. This is such an amazing story about the life of Chris Kyle, who unfortunately we lost, but he made his mark. He definitely made his mark. He was an amazing sniper in the military, saved so many lives because of what he had to do. But also what's great about this movie is that it balances his military life and also his home life, because here we have on the back, Sienna Miller plays his wife, Taya, I think, Taya, and it's an amazing job. Bradley Cooper obviously is the focus of the movie because he plays the main character that we are following, and he gives an amazing performance in this movie. But Sienna Miller playing the wife at home, that's another angle that I thought was really, really well done, because it could very easily been portrayed all about his military career, but you had that equal balance of military and at home. And Clint Eastwood, as the director of the movie, just did a really amazing job showing all perspectives of Chris Kyle's life, his wife, his children, the military, his friends in the military, his emotions, everything that he was going through. The combination of Clint Eastwood and Bradley Cooper and everyone that worked on this movie, because everyone just wanted to really honor Chris Kyle and what his life was just amazing. And there's tons of bonus features with this 4K. There are so many. I watched, I think, 3 or 4, and I had to stop, and they are very lengthy. So if you are into bonus features, then you're going to really want to pick this one up, because it really goes in depth talking about Chris Kyle, the book that was written about him, then transitioning over to the movie, then Clint Eastwood getting involved, Bradley Cooper. Like, there's a lot of bonus features on here. I mean, you can see them right here. There's so many of them. One Soldier Story. They do an actual like little mini documentary about Chris Kyle, the actual soldier, all about his real life. So I found that really nice and really amazing that they did that. I don't think all of that is available on the Blu-ray. I could be wrong. I think there's a couple of in-depth special features, but not all of this. So that's another incentive to pick up this 4K, because you get so much more bonus features with the 4K. But I really enjoyed this movie because I'm not huge into war films, as you guys know, but American Sniper, I have no problem rewatching this one. It actually was a pleasure to rewatch this. So everything is great across the board. The 4K transfer, the special features, everything. A nice crispy nice slipcover on this one. So American Sniper, definitely pick up this 4K. That one I do highly recommend. Okay, so now I'm moving on to a Blu-ray from Arrow. This was a random pickup, a complete blind buy, because previous to this movie coming out, I actually had never heard of it before, and it is Nightfalls on Manhattan. I wanted to get the title right. I didn't know if it's on or in. Nightfalls on Manhattan. So as you can see, Andy Garcia here is the star of the movie. There's also Richard Dreyfuss and Lena Olin. Now, Andy Garcia plays kind of like an up-and-comer to the prosecution. He's like fresh out of school. He's very green and everything. He's brand new. And right in the beginning of the film, the cops are trying to arrest a very big drug dealer, and they've got him. They're gonna get him, and things go wrong. He escapes. Cops are killed. It's this big whole trial that happens. Eventually, the drug dealer is captured and everything, and this whole big trial happens in the very, very beginning of the movie. And Andy Garcia, fresh out of school, becoming, the very bottom of the barrel of wanting to become a prosecutor, he is promoted to lead prosecutor for this very, very important case, okay? This is right in the beginning of the movie. And so the movie follows the trial, that ends, and then it follows him being promoted to pretty much the ADA for Manhattan. So I know I'm sounding confusing right now. I'm trying to remember because I watched this a couple of weeks ago, but this is such a great underrated movie that I had never heard before. I cannot even believe that I'd never heard of this movie, but it is just so good. So the reason why this movie ends up being so good is because Andy Garcia's father in the movie is a cop. He's almost near retirement. He was on the case trying to capture the drug dealer. James Gandolfini is also in the movie, and he plays his father's partner, okay? So then there's a question of dirty cops and everything, and Andy Garcia as the ADA is saying, if there's any dirty cops, we're going to get them, and, we're going to prosecute them to the full extent of the law, like being a hard ass, like all this stuff. And then it comes to question, is his dad a dirty cop? Is he actually going to have to prosecute his father? It's so good. It's so good. This one really surprised me. So I highly recommend this one too. Again, I picked it up from Arrow. I think it was like $25 or something. It wasn't overly expensive, but this one I think is just so underrated. So if you have not heard of it, don't worry. Don't hesitate. Pick it up because you will enjoy it. I'm trying to be vague because if you haven't seen it, which probably you haven't, because I said I feel like it's very underrated in the community. I don't think anyone ever talks about this movie. So if you haven't seen it, don't worry. Movies&Sue approved, okay? This is a great movie. Richard Dreyfuss is in the movie for a little bit. He's not in the entire film, but that's fine. Like, I didn't need him throughout the entire movie because, like I said, we're following Andy Garcia, so I was fine with that. But this one is great. This one is great. Pick this one up, definitely. And what do we got? Does it say any special features or bonus features on here? I'm trying to see. Yeah, I think we have like some special features on here, but it does say a brand new 2K remaster from Arrow. So there you go. There you go. So you know that. So we're doing really well. I'm recommending all 3 movies so far. So that is a good sign. However, not all of them. Not all of them are like that. And I will get there. But we are continuing the recommendation train because the next movie is Arthur the King. This movie totally got overlooked. I watched this just the other night. This is based on a true story. You have Mark Wahlberg and a dog. You have Mark Wahlberg and a dog. So Mark Wahlberg's character is an adventure racer. And what that means is like for, I think 5 days, he's like one of 4 people on a team. And for like 5 days, they're running, they're hiking, they're biking, they're trying to get across, I don't know, like zip lining, like whatever they have to do to get from the start to the finish over 5 days is what they have to do. Like, it's intense. Adventure racing is intense. So that's what his character does for a living. And this is kind of like his last chance because his character at this point is kind of retired, but he wants to do it one more time because he's never won. He's never finished in first place. So he wants to see if he can win. So he assembles his team and they're on their adventure race. And as they're racing, This dog right here just happens to come upon them, and he eventually ends up sticking with the team for the rest of the race. This is such a good, heartfelt story. It's one of those movies that you can watch with the entire family and you're all going to enjoy it. I thought for some reason it was going to be like overly sappy, and I don't know, I had like certain preconceived notions about this movie, but I was completely wrong. If you are an animal lover, if you are a dog lover in particular, then you are going to absolutely love and adore this movie because the ending is just so good. I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to say anything about it, but I'm so happy that it ended the way that it did. So if you love Mark Wahlberg, if you love dogs, if you like adventure racing, if you like any of those things, then this movie is for you. So I really love this one. This one flew under the radar. It was in theaters for I think 3 or 4 weeks and it disappeared and didn't really make a whole heck of a lot of money when it should have, because this is definitely a great movie. So I recommend this one to you as well. Okay, so now the next two movies I'm going to show together because they are Fletch and Fletch Lives. Pretty much the same exact premise for both movies, so I might as well just talk and do a 2-for-1 for you with these two movies. So these are obviously comedies starring Chevy Chase right here. These are from Kino Lorber. So possibly in the future for a Kino Lorber sale, you could pick these up if they are available. So just keep that in mind. But I picked these up. They went down in price to like $18, $16, something like that. So I decided to get them. I've never seen these movies before. I don't have a lot of Chevy Chase in my collection, so I decided to pick these ones up. And I enjoyed them. I will say I thought the first movie was better than the second movie, which is usually the case, but I enjoyed them both. Pretty much the premise of both movies, you have Chevy Chase. He's a journalist for like a newspaper or something, kind of like investigative journalist for a newspaper. And he's trying to like crack a case in both movies. And as he's trying to crack the case and get his information, he's always like dressing up and portraying different characters, like weird and wacky characters. So he's dressed up weird, or he has like fake teeth or a nose or something to kind of disguise him. You can see right here, he has like different identities, and that's what kind of like what the movies are, and that's what makes them so funny. And obviously him being on SNL added to this, even though he was only on there for one season. I think just the first season, then he left. But obviously being on SNL added to the character of Fletch. I mean, they're funny movies. They are. They're just mindless fun entertainment. That's what these are. That's what these are. So I had fun with them. They were great first time watches, but I do recommend wait for the sale. These can wait for a sale. You don't have to pay full price for these. You can definitely wait for a future Kino Lorber sale. But I did enjoy, and I do recommend that you do pick them up. Especially if you love Chevy Chase, then you should have these in your collection. Okay. All right. Now we've gotten to our first kind of movie. It's Imaginary. Imaginary. Okay, so with Imaginary, this is from Blumhouse. Obviously, it's a horror film. And I thought they had a good concept going, but unfortunately, they just did not stick the landing with this movie. So pretty much the basic concept is you have this woman who is married. She recently got married, I think, and she has 2 stepchildren. One of them is fine with her. The other one just really doesn't care for her. And that's like, you know, typical movie screenwriting. You know, there's always one that accepts you and one does not. So they end up moving back to her childhood home. And what ends up happening is her stepdaughter, it's both of the kids are female, so 2 stepdaughters. And the youngest stepdaughter that accepts her, that accepts the stepmom and likes her and everything, she happens to find this bear in the house. The bear's name is Chauncey, okay? So Chauncey and the youngest stepdaughter are forming this cute little imaginary friend, relationship, typical young girl or boy finding something to become attached to, especially if they're going through something, they become attached to an inanimate object. It's like one of those things. So she becomes attached to the bear. He goes where she goes, everywhere. And it kind of forms into, I don't know, the movie evolves into like this is the same imaginary friend that the stepmom had when she was younger, and he's kind of mad that she left him there. Are you following this? The imaginary friend is mad that he was left behind. Chauncey here is mad that he was left behind. So this is what's causing him to wreak chaos and anarchy in the household, I guess, is the best way to describe this movie. That's it. Like I said, it would have been a good idea. Okay, the potential was there. But with the ending, I hated the ending. I did not like what they did with it. I don't want to go into a lot of detail because if you haven't seen the movie yet, because it is still kind of new, I don't want to spoil it for you in case you just bought it and, you haven't watched it yet or something like that. But the ending for me personally, I did not care for the ending at all. It kind of turned into one of those endings, like it was a false ending. You thought the movie was ending, and then it wasn't. And it kind of dragged on for another 10 minutes. It wasn't necessary. I feel like it just got overly complicated, and it just didn't have to be. I don't know what they were thinking when they were doing that. So it was one of those movies where you started off with a good idea, it got a little crazy in the middle, and the ending, you didn't stick it. I didn't really care for it. So I'm just going to end there because, like I said, I don't want to spoil this movie for you. If you have not seen it and you just picked it up, I know you'd really be mad at me if I did that. So I just didn't really overly care for this one, unfortunately. So I'm not highly recommending Imaginary. And yes, Lionsgate did send this one over to me. I am appreciative. I'm going to keep it. Maybe upon a second watch, who knows? But, the first watch did not go so well. So I'm not really anticipating much of a change in the future, if you know what I'm saying. So I will keep it, but not my favorite. I can't recommend that one to you. I really, really can't. I would be lying at that point if I did. Okay. And I don't lie. I'm all about honesty here on my channel. You guys know this. I'm very transparent and I am real to a fault. I'm honest to a fault sometimes. Okay. My final two are the Lionsgate steelbooks that we could get at Walmart, the Vestron Lionsgate Walmart steelbooks that have been coming out. So the first one here is The Gate. This one, very easy, very simple. It's fun. It's just fun. You have a basic concept and it's a fun movie. You have a young Stephen Dorff with his best friend. There's a hole in the backyard. I think his dad is like digging a hole or something or removing a tree. There's some reason as to why there's like a big giant hole in the backyard. And something occurs where all the right ingredients happen coincidentally to kind of like open up a portal in the hole in the backyard for demons to escape. That's it. Simple concept. So easy, so simple. I mean, this was obviously made in the 80s, I believe. And the 80s movies were just so simple to follow. You didn't need overly complicated stuff. All you need is a hole in the backyard, a drop of blood, you say a chant, and demons. That's it. That's it. That's all this is. So you have Stephen Dorff, the best friend, conjuring up demons accidentally in the backyard. They get released into our world. And then you have, oh yeah, the parents are away. The parents are away. They didn't want to leave their kids, but they did. There's an older sister who's watching Stephen Dorff's character and his best friend. And the sister gets involved and she has like these snotty best friends that are like the worst. They're just typical 80s, okay? Just like the worst best friends possible. Very bad influences. It's just a fun movie. So I recommend this one. This one is just so simple, so easy, so fun. And here's like the demons. Can you see them on the back? There we go. Those are like the demons that are like popping out. They look so weird and cheesy because of the time period and everything. But I like this steelbook. I like the steelbook a lot. I like the colors, the purpley pink and the black and everything. So this one I highly, highly recommend. It's just fun. Cheesy 80s fun. There we go. I hope it's the 80s. Is it late 70s? I don't think so. I think it is from the 80s. Okay. I could be wrong though. I didn't research it before I said this. I did absolutely no rehearsing. I'm just talking at the camera right now. Okay. Last movie. I think my face says it all when it comes to this movie. You don't need this. You don't need this. You don't need this. Unless you have proclaimed, yes, I am picking up every single Vestron Lionsgate Steelbook from Walmart. You don't need this. This movie was just so weird. So freaking like odd, strange, weird, wacky, whatever words you want to use to call this movie that equals to strange and weird. Like, I don't even know. I don't even know how to describe this film. Okay. You have two sisters that are running, like, I think this is over in England, by the way. So you have two sisters that are running kind of like a bed and breakfast or something like that. And they have this male friend that's like digging around on their property for some reason. And he comes across this like skull type thing. And he's thinking that it's something else, but when in reality, it's something else completely, and it's not good, okay? So then we have Hugh Grant's character. Hugh Grant is in this movie. Yes, the Hugh Grant is in this, okay? The Lair of the White Worm. Yeah, the Lair of the White Worm. Hugh Grant is in this, okay? So his character is friends with the two sisters, and apparently in his family, I guess, in his lineage, there's like this myth that someone from his family like slain the gigantic white worm or something. Like, it's really corny and really, really weird. Like, someone in his family generations ago killed this gigantic white worm that was like terrorizing the village or something like that. They're throwing a party. They do it every single year. Then we get to this female character. This chick right here is like introduced into the movie. I think she's a vampire. But like, this is where I'm confused. Okay, she like kind of like represents the white worm. Like, she has to get the sacrifices for the white worm. But why is she a vampire? Like, this is where I was confused. Granted, I was kind of like in and out of it, but I don't think I was that much out of it where I couldn't decipher that. You know what I mean? Like, it was just really, I'm like, why isn't she a worm? I would think she'd be a worm and not a vampire because she's got fangs. That's a vampire. So why is she, I didn't get the connection between vampire and this gigantic worm. You know what I'm saying? This movie's just weird. It's weird. It's confusing. It's extremely low budget. There's nudity in here. Like, she's walking around naked. At one point, the end of the movie, she's going to sacrifice one of the sisters to the white worm. And she's wearing, if you've seen this, you know what she's wearing. Like, I don't even know if I could say it. I don't think I should say it because I think I should leave you in some kind of a suspense. But it just kind of goes places where you're just like, what? Like, what is strange? Absolutely strange. So I'm going to keep the steelbook because I think it's a great looking steelbook. Okay, the steelbook, look at that. That's the worm. That's the worm right there. That's the worm. He looks green, but he's actually white in the movie. That's the worm. It's a great looking steelbook. But the movie itself is garbage. It's not good. The best part about it is the vampire chick. She gives the best performance. She's so like, she's like, you know, portraying sexy and desirable to lure young men in as her victims and things like that for sacrifices for this worm. But like, that was it. You know, like there really wasn't anything super fantastic about this movie. So this I cannot recommend to you at all whatsoever. The Gate, absolutely. That's cheesy 80s fun. I can get behind that all day. This, no. I really, really can't. You don't need this. You don't. I'm going to keep it because, you know, I have regret purchases every single year. It just happens. This is going to be a regret. You know what? It is what it is. So you don't need this. You don't need the Lair of the white worm in your collection because it's too weird. It's too weird. It's too strange. All right. So I hope you understood all that. By the way, I know like with my ramblings, sometimes it could be, Susan, what are you talking about? But I know, I apologize, but I hope you understood everything with the Lair of the white worm. So those are my thoughts about some of the most recent brand new releases. So comment down below and let me know, out of any of the movies that I talked about, which ones are you most interested in watching or picking up. Don't forget to like and subscribe before you leave, and I'll see you next time.